the military really views Iraq veterans against the war as a threat. I mean, we are saying that GIs have an obligation to resist illegal orders, and while that is compliant with international law, the fact is that it's threatening to the U.S. military because the U.S. military gives illegal orders on a daily basis.
And that was your experience?
Yeah, I mean, I spent the last 9 months of my military career, the last 9 months of 9 years, unexcused absence, UA, or the equivalent to AWOL on active duty, because I couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't put on the uniform and pretend that I believed in these things anymore. And so I left, and I still was given an honorable discharge. I'm not exactly sure how that worked out, but basically I left because I couldn't do it anymore. And I knew that what I'd been told was a lie. I knew that I couldn't trust any order given to me without questioning. I stopped thinking like a soldier. And once you stop thinking like a soldier, I think it's your duty to get out, to make sure that you're not put in a situation where you are questioning every order you're given, no matter how insignificant it is, because you've been lied to all the way from the top. From the weapons of mass destruction, we were lied to. From the ties to Al-Qaeda, we were lied to. And we were sent to Iraq on false premise. And how can you ever follow a chain of command that's willing to send you to war based on lies?
And you were deployed once, twice?
I was deployed for Operation Iraqi Freedom once, from October 2004 to October 2005.
Okay. I've got enough stuff in my own life that I don't. That's terribly personal to me, private to me. I would imagine that you're not interested in people saying, "Hey, how what was up with that kind of stuff." So I'm not here to ask you that.
Well, it's interesting that the biggest question I get most often is, "What was it like in Iraq?" And that's the toughest question to answer. How can I break down a year of experiences to you in a way that you can possibly understand it in that period of time? It's so frustrating. I talk with so many vets about this. Every vet that I meet is frustrated by the same question. What was it like? Well, it sucked. What do you want me to say about it? It's to try and squeeze that into the couple-second conversation that people want to have with you when they ask, how was it?
Yeah.
If people really wanted to know how it was, then they would be there. They would be there doing humanitarian aid work. They would be at the VA hospitals helping out veterans coming back. They wouldn't just stop and randomly ask me as they go about their daily business like the war doesn't even affect them. If people really want to know what it's like in Iraq, start to look at Operation First Casualty, because that's a small taste, just a taste of what it's like to live in Iraq.
And the second question's probably, or the second statement's probably, thank you.
Yeah, a lot of people say thank you for your service, and I really hate that. I hate when people thank me for my service. I would rather just have them say welcome home, if anything. Personally, I'd rather have them say nothing. I don't, because you're not saying it to make me feel better. You're making it to make you feel better. That's why you're thanking me for my service, because you somewhere inside yourself lack something. It's like the Vietnam vets who came home and supposedly were spit on by the left wing. No, it was the right wingers, and it's the right wingers today who abuse veterans. I've been called a coward, a traitor. I've been told I should be hung. I've had horse shit thrown at me, all by right wingers. Never by a left winger. Never by an anti-war person. Even by people, devout pacifists who hate violence. And if they had their way, there would be no military. Still have welcomed me with more than open arms. And so it's really ridiculous when I hear these stereotypes, but that's what people are trying to make up for in themselves, is false stereotypes. They don't want to be the person who mistreats the vet. Well, you know what? If you don't want to be the person who mistreats the vet, then let's bring everyone home and make sure they have full VA care. Make sure there's no homeless vets ever. Make sure that any vets who get addicted to drugs and alcohol have all the treatment they could ever want. Let's make sure that depleted uranium is tested and treated. Let's make sure that traumatic brain injury is tested and treated. Let's make sure that PTSD doesn't have a waiting list to get treatment for PTSD. Let's make sure that all veterans are taken care of. Not just that Iraq and Afghanistan veterans are bumped to the top of the list, bumping out other era veterans. No, let's fully fund the VA to make sure that it is fully capable of doing everything that it was designed to do. And if you do that, guess what? There's no money for war. Because it would probably cost $120 billion this year just to get the VA up to snuff and take care of our veterans to start with. And then probably very close to that for the next quite a few years until we really put our vets back on the same level they were before they became veterans. Because we're not asking for a leg up on anyone. We're just asking to be at what we were before we became veterans. Veterans are more likely to be homeless, more likely to be addicted to drugs and alcohol. We're less likely to have a college education than our average peer group who doesn't go into the military. And so we're just asking to, since we served our country, since we raised our right hand and we pledged to defend the Constitution from all enemies, foreign and domestic, because we're willing to put our lives on the line for the country, that this country respect that. And that respecting that isn't putting a yellow magnet on the back of your car. It's actually honoring the troops. It's calling your senator, calling your congressperson and saying, why are there homeless vets? Calling your senator, calling your congresswoman and saying, why are vets addicted to alcohol trying to get treatment and being refused treatment at the VA? It's calling your senator, calling your congressman and saying, why is it that there's a waiting list for PTSD at the VA in my area? It's knowing where the hell the VA is in your area. Because most people don't even know where the Veterans Hospital is. Most people don't know what veterans issues are. They don't know about depleted uranium, traumatic brain injury, PTSD. I can't tell you how many lectures I give and people ask me, what's PTSD? After all this time, we don't know what PTSD is. More than 100 Iraq veterans killed themselves last year. And we still don't know what PTSD is. The major media doesn't want to talk about it. The VA doesn't want to talk about it. The White House certainly doesn't want to talk about it. So we have to.